Welcome back to D2 Wrench Works and DIY, guys. In today's video, I have a Bianchi Premio, and this is actually a 1990. It's a vintage bike. As you can tell, we got frame shifters over here. We got 7-speed in the back. You might be able to tell we got some slightly ovalized, very, very vintage. You always can tell by the little label here, BioPace chain rings, and that is, as you can see, it's taller up here and skinnier in the middle. The theory is, like, it's coming back nowadays, the oval chain rings. They're still popular by a company named Oval. And it's sort of like this was supposed to make it easier on your knees at the point when you're actually compressing down. Like if your left leg was right there and you're just fully starting to press on the joint, that's supposed to be at the thinner part right here where you're pressing the chain. And then when you get back down to the power part, you can get the higher profile chain ring, more chain for, more push. So anyways, one cool thing about this bike is it has a very rare, unique situation with the chromoly tubing. This is what is called Bianchi Superset 2, preceding Superset 1. Bianchi had in the 80s bikes. This is now made by Tange, but I guess Bianchi had their own plan for this bike, and it's got a ovalized down tube here. All of the tubing's oversized. It does have a really neat chromoly unicrown fork as well. For a budget bike, it's something that is, it's a 1990, it looks very dirty, but it's gonna clean up super nice, man. I know that as a fact. I'll probably even get some wax out and bring the paint a little bit to life because it's just so covered in filth. So you can tell this thing has been sitting forever. It actually, magically, these tan wall tires, whatever people wanna call them, they always rot out. They're gum wall is what I usually call them. And the tubes still hold air. So, I'm gonna get a whole bunch of things done to this, and we're gonna make it last hopefully another 20, 30 years. That's my plan. I bought this bike for 80 bucks. Pretty fair rate for what it is. This is, in your town, Corona's pretty, because of coronavirus, bikes are pretty high. So maybe 150 wouldn't be terrible, to tell you the truth. Even in the shape it's in. It's super salvageable since it is a chromoly frame. This one cool thing about it, it came with an aluminum, it's like not a normal seat post, it's kind of the ones you have to get a wrench in there to open it, and it's got a clamp like most kind of cheap Walmart bikes have. But honestly, the aluminum on here is very lightweight, so I didn't even bother upgrading it. It takes a 26.6 seat post, so it's not something I had in stock. You can get aluminum ones off Amazon super cheap though, so that's a good upgrade if you do have one. I would definitely do that. We got a pretty cool little comfy seat on here I'm actually going to leave as well. But what I was getting at is aluminum and steel, always make sure there's lubricant in there. I pulled it out, it was actually very sticky. There was some, I don't even know what kind of grease was in there. It was like glue. It wasn't very good. So if I would have left it like that, it could have frozen to the frame and ruined the bike. Trying to get the seat out can often separate the lugs. So that's something we want to take care of. This is a really nice Tange made, as I said, double-butted chromoly steel frame, meaning not only is it strong because of the nice lugs we have, but it's thicker on each end of all of the tubing and thinner in the middle to keep the weight down. So that's a really nice advantage that we have from this high-end chromoly steel frame. Pretty good for what it is, and it does need some help. The brakes are fine, they're Shimano Exage. We have 7-speed rear, 2-speed front. I'm gonna leave the crank all alone. I have, I think, a Shimano 600 rear derailleur that will work on this. We're gonna pop this rear wheel off, and what we're gonna do a lot of work to make this fit an 8-speed brand new freewheel that I have. And so here's the freewheel. One of the nice things I like about that, not only do you get more gear ability by going 8 speeds versus the 7, you got a much bigger one here to make climbing a lot easier. Along with that, we're going to do a chain, of course. You always should, if you're doing a cassette or a freewheel, do a new chain. And these are pretty cheap. I even got a nice KMC one. It was like 15 bucks. So this is 20 bucks. All these links will be in the description as well. So my only real gripe about a bike like this, and some people might hate on this because I know vintage bike lovers out there, they love these frame shifters. It's kind of hard to be shifting and braking while you're slowing down. You want to be downshifted for slowing down, coming to a stop. It's actually kind of dangerous if you're a new rider because you have to have one hand off. If you hit something, you have a way to go over. I've crashed pretty bad on a nice steel frame bike with downshifters myself, so I know what it's like. And it's actually super simple and very affordable to get yourself a pair of these. And these are going to be your conversion cable stops. What they're going to do is you're going to take this with a flat head, you're going to pop this. There you go. You're going to pop your frame shifter right off. And depending on your situation, sometimes frames have pieces that you leave on, but if yours is still curved there and I have a curved piece to match this, and you always make sure that there's like a nice square to catch this, and they're all just clip right on. No big deal at all. Now this screw that comes out of this frame shifter is not going to work. It's not going to work with what you got going on here now. So what you need to do is just get a small, something like what would go in the water bolt or water bottle cage here. A small Allen head bolt, and then you'll be back in business, and you already got the start of how to run your cable. So I just wanted to point this out because I just noticed I grabbed the wrong part out of my desk bin here. You don't want it, because both of these look the same, these pieces I have here, but actually one is for the left side, one's for the right side. You don't want the cable to be up high like that on the top side of the tube. You need it to be going underneath and down here. So you want it to be like this. You want it to be pointing down. And that's how you know you have the right side on. And then you just take your standard little Allen bolt here and run that right in, and you're done with that side. And like I said, try to make a few bucks back. I always put these guys in a bag so you don't lose the little pieces. There's only a few, but these, like I said, these rounded frame pieces that go on here, they're kind of costly to replace, so, and it ruins the shifter. Keep it all together. And so now what we're going to be doing is taking some Shimano ST2300, just some run-of-the-mill, like these come on every economy bike that Trek, Cannondale, all them make, Shimano Sora shifters, just 8-speed upgrades. They do give you the ability to brake and also shift at the same time. Like I said, much safer, and it makes it a lot faster for you to just be able to, if you're bombing down a hill, just bang, 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 and also hold on to the brakes and stay aero, instead of having to like reach down and keep touching it with one hand off and you're going on a bumpy road or something, you know. So anyways, you get the point. So what we'll be doing is we'll be popping off these brake levers here, and we're going to just be replacing them. I'm going to take all this bar tape off. These cables here, they're no good. They're trash. We got this old crazy bike computer that's going to come off. And so that's that. You're going to see in the next turn over here, I'm not going to do a time lapse or anything on this one, but I did want to just show how easy it was just to get that start of that going. And you know, just like anything else, you run your shift cable right into there, and we'll come back with everything, and this thing will look like a whole new bike. I promise you that. So it's a week later now. We ran into some complications, found out some new things about this bike. If you have one of these, this is something you could plan ahead on, because I did not. So what we have here is the original wheel. One cool thing about this is these have actual Shimano exhaust hubs. Nowadays you don't get them anymore. They go with something Chinese like a Formula or Novitec on the lower end wheels. These are lower end. They're single wall, meaning that there's not an extra wall in between the spokes where the bottom of the rim hits them. So your tube is actually sitting right on top of the spoke heads. And I don't know if you can hear it, but it actually makes a noise. There's not a lot of protection there, so bonus is this new wheel that we did put on. You see here we have a new one. It's a double wall, it's a newer style, it's actually slightly a bit wider, so it gives you more contact patch to prevent flats. But the problem is with this one, despite being the nice hub and actually a surprising style of cassette, I thought this was going to be a freewheel. Generally, if you see frame shifters, it means it's going to have a type that you have to screw the freewheel on. It's not a cassette. It doesn't have a free hub where you can slide the cassette on and off. You have to have a totally different set of tools and everything for that. But this is actually right in the middle of where they were going from frame shifters to SDIs, and for some reason I guess they threw together a 7-speed only hub. This will not fit at 8-speed. It's not wide enough. So it's really only good for a 7-speed road bike project. So I'm going to be putting this in my bin because, like I said, it does have really nice hubs. They do make 7-speed integrated shifters like we did upgrade up here. But I don't have those, and so I'll just save this for something else that does have those 7-speed shifters. Just something to look out for if you do have this bike, because I already bought an 8-speed freewheel expecting to just thread it on and redish the wheel and maybe move one of the cassette spacer or axle spacers over, but can't do that. So that is that on this wheel. So despite having the Shimano 300EX all around its brakes, crank set, it's a full group, which is nice. You know, the levers on it before, they were pretty nice, but you know, the frame shifters, they're still good mid-quality stuff for that time when, you know, 1990 when this was new. But we have more modern stuff. You could find still pretty nice vintage stuff that's a little bit newer. And so what I did here, first thing, put on a Shimano 600 rear derailleur. That is, if you see, it has a nice cool little tricolor on it, a flag. That is a tricolor model. It is a 8-speed or 7-speed rear derailleur. It is actually Shimano 600's what they used to call Ultegra before Ultegra was around. So when it turns to 8-speed official, or when they turn to 9-speed, Shimano came out with Ultegra and they cut off 600. So that's where that comes from. It gives excellent shifts. You can find these super cheap on eBay. Mixed with the Sora shifters, great shifting, super great. I was very impressed. So along with that, I upgraded the front derailleur to a RX100. This is basically Shimano 105, but the RX100 had a polished finish to it. Shimano 105 in this generation came with like a gray finish. I like the polish better, and nobody puts any value on the RX100 parts because they don't realize it's the same as 105, and they think it's lesser. So actually I had this just in my parts bin. Both of these you could probably pick up for like 20 bucks on eBay for the rear derailleur, maybe 25, and like probably 15-20 bucks for a front derailleur. They're fairly inexpensive. I kept the crank on here because I like it. It's in excellent shape. The whole bike cleaned up beautifully actually, but the crank especially, I mean, it shows there's almost no wear on the chain rings at all, which are original. That's pretty neat. I like the BioPace, as I mentioned before, so kept that the way it was. I did slap on a nice new chain. Since we did put the new wheel on there, obviously we had to get a new 8-speed cassette. So this is a SRAM 1126, fairly good size. Not the biggest it could fit, but still keeps a nice tight group set of shifting and still has some good top end and some good climbing. And with our cockpit, I wanted to go along with like this comfort theme to the bike. This is obviously, you know, kind of a commuter style road bike. This is why I wanted to change it from the frame shifters over. So our cockpit, we have some Sora shifters up here, super affordable. ST2300, if you wanted to look them up on eBay, is the part number to these. Just the front is universally 2 or 3-speed, so you just adjust your front derailleur, and the rear is 8-speed. Very cheap. I think I got them for probably like 20-30 bucks or something like that. That's a good going rate for them. Front wheel we kept stock. I did put, as you can see, a brand new set of tires and tubes on this bike. The old tires were so bad and rotted, they were just absolutely trash. I was hoping to save the tubes because they still held air. When I pulled the tubes apart, they were melted, so that the gum wall was actually stuck to the tubes and it was no good. So we gave it a nice new fresh look with some black and gray tires. I thought it kept, you know, looked so nice and clean. I wanted to keep the red bar tape, but I wanted to accent it with all white cables. And so I had some white shift cables I put on. I put some white brake cables on. And since this does have a top tube brake, since the brake line is running on the top of this top tube, I went ahead and put a Jaguar cable liner on here. Generally it's on the bottom and it's a lot less likely to get hit with rain or sweat and whatnot. If you don't cover it and it is up here, it's gonna eat your brake wire up because you need to get like a really nice coated one. Everything is normal and budget on this, so a little bit of liner keeps it living longer. The brakes I kept on as well, even as the original reflectors you can see. I was happy with them. They're the same Shimano 300EX. They got a nice, good, strong lever stop to them. They pair excellent to the feel of the Shimano Sora shifters. And that's pretty much the entire bike. It came out great. I think it looks really nice. It's still has its vintage heart, you know, and That's pretty much it. It's a great way to build a cheap bike on a budget. This is a huge bike. It's like a 58 or 59 centimeter, and it came out to be about 25 pounds without the pedals. So for an all steel bike, that's pretty good. Something that, you know, another bike, this is 1990, shoot, this thing will probably last 50 years longer if it's not wrecked or anything. It's in such good shape, such low mileage, and I hope whoever gets it next enjoys it. Thanks for watching, guys. Please do like and subscribe. It really helps my small channel grow. You have a good day. Thanks. Bye.